My name is Bill Cross, and I am a World War II combat veteran. Pearl Harbor was on December 7th. I knew we were going to war then. And so the next day, 3 or 4 of my good friends and I went down and volunteered for the service. They kept us in school. Well, another year or 2 before we went to basic training. My friend and I had a fight for OCS, officers training, and was accepted, and so we both wanted to be in the armored force. When we went over, and we had no protection from either shore. I think I was the only officer on the whole boat, and we had 1,000 men. It was a transport, but it was a camouflage as a freighter. I came out in the open, and none of the men were able to come out at all. Submarines would see it, and they would know it was a troop ship. And at any rate, when the captain came down, and right about that time, the little ship in front of us went up in flames, and the little one in back of us went up in flames. They both were little tankers. And the captain said, "Well, we're going to be next. It'll be here in 2 minutes." And he was right. We saw the torpedo coming in, and it hit us right in the middle. Big thump, but no big explosion. And the captain said, "That's a miracle. I never heard of a dead torpedo. But the next one will be here in 2 minutes." And we waited about 15, and finally the sailor had come down. He said, I think that was their last one. I think they don't have any more. Because otherwise they'd have been here a long time ago. And so I remember I went down and I got on a loudspeaker and I said, "Man, I think you just experienced your first miracle of the war." And all I could hear was about 1,000 whispers of, "Oh, thank you, God. Thank you so much." When we landed, or when we got over there, General Patton called all the officers together, and in his language or whatever, he said, "You can forget all that training that you learned. You can forget that, because the Germans know just exactly. They have your manual. They know exactly what you were trained to do. And so when you're fired upon, at the time we were trained to take cover." And he said, and they know that. And so when you get fired upon someplace, you get the hell out of there, because they have it all already set up. They have it zeroed in with mortars and so forth. And so right after they opened up fire, and I yelled, I was a platoon leader at the time, and I yelled, and I said, "Get out of here." And so we headed for the woods. And then sure enough, where we had been, just the whole ground got plowed up. We had adhered to what we'd been trained to do by we'd been gunners. And so General Patton saved our life that first time that he told us about it, and we listened. And so then I was assigned to a infantry division, a tank infantry team. The tankers are the ones who are in charge of the logistics and where they want to go and what they want to do and so on. And so infantry always goes first, so that you don't have a trap set up for the tanks. We're going to cross into Austria, where we were supposed to meet the Russians at Scharding, Austria. That was where the main road was. I'd been promoted to a first lieutenant, also a company commander, which is 250 men. And then that morning we came in total unexpected, of course, and so we captured Scharding with not hardly a shot being fired, because they were still pretty much asleep, and the tankers were out of their tanks and everything. So we captured an admiral and a general. And why they were there, I'll never know, except that they had a reputation of incredible red wine, and so maybe the guys had gone there to get wine. I have no idea at that time of the war, but at any rate, they asked me if I would take those guys back to regimental headquarters for interrogation. And on our way, we came to a very, very steep hill. Down at the very bottom, well, you can't see up and you can't see down. But we came under fire before we got to that hill. And I could tell they were heavy machine guns, and they could penetrate a Jeep easy. So I had those two guys kind of head jump to the back. We had cleared out all the area, but obviously there was a good force of Germans that was left. If I'd gone up the hill, why, they'd have torn us up. And if I'd turned around and tried to go back, they had torn us up. But those heavy machine guns they were like our 50 calibers. So they were very destructive. They could go through a Jeep like nothing. And I knew we couldn't wait until dark because they knew that there's no more than 4 of us. And that had been nighty night for us, my driver and I. So I put several magazines around my neck and so forth, and I went into the woods and I crawled up the hill, and then I got to where I knew I was at the top of the hill. I knew I was in back of the machine guns, and so that I got as close as I could, and I still had to cover a tree, and there were 10 of them, so there are two machine guns up there, and that's what's normal is a five-man crew for a heavy machine gun. And then I opened up with my carbine and automatic. And after I used up the first magazine, well, there were about half of them that were kind of down, and so there were only 2 of them that were able to recover and find out what was happening and get their rifles and try to shoot back. But finally, after probably my 3rd magazine, they were all down. And so I ran to the top of the hill and motioned for my driver to come up. And I told him, I said, if you see me, you come up fast. If you don't, turn around and go back, because they're not going to be worried about you. They're going to be worried about me, and I'm not going to make it. So we got back and we got out of there. We got to the regiment, and then I told him, I said, well, there's a rather large force, I think, of Germans that nobody had cleaned out yet. And I think it was my driver that probably told somebody that it happened. A long time ago, I mean, before that, it was a couple of months, while we were still in France, a couple of boys from Tennessee, they were good friends, and they came along and said, Lieutenant, would you like to have us make your carbine automatic? I told them, yeah, that would be a good thing, I guess, especially if you're in house to house. That'd be a good thing. And so they did. And so that was a miracle, I guess, because that happened way before. And so somebody knew, I guess, I was going to need an automatic, because if I hadn't had an automatic, it would have never worked. A single shot I would never gotten out of there alive, certainly, for sure. Now, what's the picture of my wife up there? I carried my steel helmet between my helmet liner and steel helmet, but it's got a nick in it because I had a bullet that went in here that came out the back, and I think it maybe nicked that. And so between God and her, they moved it over maybe 1 centimeter or 2 centimeters, and I ended up just catching my helmet liner just proper so it glanced a little bit. And so that was, I don't know if that's a miracle or not, but it'd be stretching to say I was lucky. No, I wasn't wounded. I got 2 Purple Hearts. I had a Bronze Star, but a Silver Star is when you put your life on the line to either save somebody or to make something happen in the war that needed to happen. And if you didn't live to talk about it, well, then you got a Silver Star, and the Silver Star was sent to your closest of relatives. But if you did live to talk about it, well, it was a Bronze Star. But it was well after the war was over with. I received it, but it was kind of not a big deal.